Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 67 in Deuteronomy. When will blessings overtake me? So we're going to ask the question today about when will blessings chase you down and overtake you, overwhelm you? Well, to tell that story, he's telling Israel to line up half the tribes on one side of Shechem and the other half of the tribes on the other side of Shechem. This huge nationwide, everybody plays a part in this kind of morality play. And you get to choose between obedience on one side and rebellion on the other, light on one side, darkness on the other. Basically, choose this day, choose in the way that is before you. And likely, your particular way might not exactly be the same exact way that another person is. So you have agency, you have consequences. And then he tells them, if you choose light, you're going to get these blessings. If you choose darkness, you're going to get these consequences. So let me start in Genesis chapter 28, verse 1. And if you faithfully obey the voice of the Lord your God, being careful to do all his commandments that I command you today, the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you. Just love that picture, if you obey the voice of the Lord. So I don't think it's a bad thing here to pause and think about the consequences. Now, it's a lot of fun to think about the good consequences, but it's also helpful to think about the bad consequences. So what if this is true? What if the principles in this passage are true and that true blessings can come upon you and overtake you? Well, our response should be, how do I get there? What do I have to do? Where do I sign up for this? But on the other hand, what if it's true that one can be overtaken by curses? Verse 15, after this long section of blessings, says, but if you will not obey the voice of the Lord your God, or be careful to do his commandments and his statutes that I command you today, then all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. And he lists a long list of them. So both of these are about obeying the voice of the Lord. So you may say, I don't know what the voice of the Lord is. Well, first of all, that's not true, because he's given you a conscience to help guide everybody on the planet, even the non-believer. And if you're serious about the question, then, or at least curious, then I would say, hey, come back here tomorrow. Deuteronomy is full of the voice of the God, recorded in real time by a real person. And then head maybe to the Gospel of John, and you'll hear his voice and you'll see his actions there. And then perhaps go for a walk and see a beautiful sunrise and make a response, is what Deuteronomy teaches us to do. And maybe on Sunday, head to church and hear his word and see his people. All right, so our official passage today is from Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse number 1. Let me start in verse 2. And all these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you, if you obey the voice of the Lord your God. Blessed shall you be in the city, and blessed shall you be in the field. Blessed shall be the fruit of your womb, and the fruit of the ground, and the fruit of your castle, the increase of your herds, and the young of your flock. Blessed shall be your basket and your kneading bowl. Blessed shall you be when you come in, and blessed shall you be when you go out. Verse 7, the Lord will cause your enemies who rise against you to be defeated before you. So this just stopped me in my tracks today. So in this long section of blessings, the enemies are mentioned. So of note, it's not that you do not have enemies. It's not that they will not rise against you. So both of those things are true. So you mean to tell me that the blessings of the Lord your God will be seen in the context of enemies and battles? Yes, that's exactly what we're saying here. So the presence and the favor of the Lord will best be seen sometimes when enemies stand up. That is, in the presence of my enemies. So it's just like it says in Psalm 23. It's a great psalm about the Lord's blessing. You've heard it at many funerals. And here it is. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. So the spiritual life is not lived absent conflict. It's not lived absent enemies. It is lived absent aloneness. So it is in the presence of enemies that God's blessings are often seen. So I want to say this carefully, but cancers, I have observed, are sometimes the best things that ever happen to certain people. So the presence of enemies is not a sure sign of the curse. It is, however, a sure sign of his blessing, of his presence and his activities. So yes, even blessings are often best seen in the fray. So Paul was given a thorn, but he was also given the truth, which is, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. That's from 2 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 9. So the so-called prosperity gospel is often too impoverished in that it forgets this, that there are indeed enemies and conflict, that which wars against your flesh. The fall from way back in Genesis is not far off, but his presence is near. He is the treasure. His presence is the prize. So let's ask this as we close. What if you've chosen poorly? Well, that's in the past. The challenge in Scripture over and over is choose this day how you will serve him. And what if I'm living in some consequences of previous choices? Well, rejoice that there's a just God and that he still sees you. So even those that either willfully went out to the dark side or that are sent out to the dark side as a discipline, they go with a purpose, which is to come back. So the story of the prodigal son is the story of consequences, but eventually good decisions. So I could never go back is not the right response. It's I can go back now, and please help me. So the presence and the favor of the Lord will best be seen sometimes when you're in the presence of your enemies. The spiritual life is not lived absent conflict. It's lived absent aloneness. So today, when will blessings overtake me? The answer is when I start to obey his voice. Go do that today. Thanks for listening.